Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 97 of the Driftless Knitting podcast. My name is Jennifer. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Driftless Knitter, and you can find the podcast group on Ravelry if you search for Driftless Knitting under the groups tab. You can ask questions there. There isn't a knit along or anything going on right now, but that's kind of the main reason for it still being up, is just if anybody has questions or comments. You can also definitely leave comments down below. It's really fun going on YouTube and seeing comments, although I am realizing that I'm not getting notifications when people comment on a video, so I have to go back and check all the videos. I have to figure out how to turn that on, because if people are watching, I check comments on the latest videos, but if people are watching back and have comments or questions or anything like that on previous long ago episodes, I'm gonna have no idea. So yeah, I really have to turn on notifications for that. You can also find my patterns on Ravelry, as well as, that was a weird way of saying that, patterns on Ravelry as well as on knitcircus.com. I have quite a big handful of my patterns now under the digital downloads tab on knitcircus.com, for those of you who can't access Ravelry at the moment. So, and hopefully that changes. I said that last time too, and I don't know really if it has much. I know that they have a survey out. I did the survey and it was super confusing, kind of, because yeah, anyway, you have to compare all the different slides, and it took actually quite a long time, but I still did it because I feel like it's important, even though I personally don't have any visual troubles with it. I think just sort of putting your voice behind people who do, people who have, yeah, it's just a nice thing to do. So anyway, that's beside the point. Today is Thursday. It is, what day is it? July 16th. And it is about 11:30 in the morning. I am coming to you from outside Madison, Wisconsin, where I live with my husband and soon to be our baby boy, who is not born yet. Though today we are 32 weeks. We've made it to the 32-week mark. And things are getting real. Things are getting real, people. I won't talk too much about baby stuff because I know that's not everybody's jam. Although the majority of the projects I have to show you have to do with baby, but it's just kind of where my mind is at. I have a whole list of things that I wanted to get done before he was born, and I probably won't get to all of them. But I'm getting anxious about when he is born, whether or not I will have much knitting time, and I want to prepare for fall and winter and have a couple of sweaters and things like that ready for him when he's 3, 4 months old, 5 months old, during Christmas time and stuff like that. So yeah, so I have quite the list, and like I said, I know I won't finish all of them, but I'm furiously trying to get as much done as possible. So yeah, I have been crafting on some baby projects, but yeah, it is a kind of gray day today. It's a little bit cooler than it has been in the past couple of weeks. So I do have my sliding door open next to me. You can probably see it's a little bit lighter on this side because of the natural light coming through. And hopefully that's okay, but I do have my door open, so if you hear any background noise, that's where it's coming from. Hopefully there won't be any garbage trucks. Today's not garbage day. You know, there's always somebody sort of doing lawn work and stuff like that, but hopefully it won't be too bad. And I'm just finishing up a cup of coffee from this morning. This is one of my favorite mugs. As you can see, obviously it's a knitting mug. My aunt gave this to me quite a few years ago. And yeah, I'm not sure where she got it or what the brand is or anything like that, but I love it. So I hope you all have been well. I have been busy working from home still. And yeah, just trying to get stuff ready for the baby. What else have we been up to? Oh, it was my birthday last Friday. I turned 30 years old, which is exciting and strange. And I'm actually almost glad that I was pregnant during this, because when I turned 20, I kind of went through, like, at least just the day of or the day before, kind of had this like freak out about not being a teenager anymore, turning 20, becoming an adult. Like, I don't know, I felt like it was like a huge milestone, and coming to terms with that was actually a little tricky for me, which is weird because I don't usually get caught up in things like that. So I was a little worried about turning 30, and honestly, I don't know if it's actually hit me that I'm 30 years old, but that doesn't matter. But I feel like I was so distracted by thinking about the baby, like it just didn't seem important, you know. There were so many other things to think about, especially in the pandemic right now. It was like, who cares that I'm turning 30? Like, it doesn't matter. So definitely was distracted from that like milestone, like, yeah, but I still had a really great day. My mom and my stepdad and my sister and her family came up, and we did kind of like an outdoor like picnic. We live on the Wisconsin River, which is really beautiful, and it's only a few like minutes away. So we went down there. We had like takeout. We ordered takeout. We all kind of sat in a circle and had a picnic. And then we went swimming. Well, my nephew and my sister went swimming, and the rest of us sort of waded into the river. Oh, my husband did too. My husband swam. But yeah, I did not swim. For some reason, I've been a little hesitant about swimming. I don't know, maybe it's just the fact that like I don't have a swimsuit that like fits me right now. That's probably it. What would I wear? So anyway, that was a really great day. And then that weekend I got to see my in-laws and spend a little bit of time at their farm. So that was fun as well. And I got a couple cute things for my birthday. And yeah, I treated myself to something as well, but that hasn't arrived yet. It's nothing huge. It's nothing huge. I actually treated myself to something else that I did not plan on. Yeah, I'll get to that. So anyway, enough talking about just random things. Let's get into the knitting today. So the first thing I'm going to show you, I don't have any finished objects technically today, but I will show you. The last time I podcasted, I was talking about this pillow that I'm knitting for my sister's friend, and I don't have the book here anymore. I put it away because I finished it. I haven't sewn the pieces together yet, but I have finished knitting all the pieces. So these are the two like back pieces with the button band that it is a functional button band. So I'll sew these two like overlapping each other, like right here, for that button band to work, and then sewing those two onto the back. So this is what I finished knitting. It's a little stiff right now, and I'll explain kind of why. So this is the back of the pillow. Those two will go onto there, the two front pieces. So I was waiting, I think on the last episode, I was waiting for more yarn to come because I had used up the yarn that my friend had sent me. So I was waiting for the Deborah Norville Everyday Premier yarn to come, and it did. obviously, because I finished knitting. It was slightly different. The color was spot on. I can't notice a difference in the color, but the texture was different. So this turned out to be slightly more, like slightly thicker. This is what I have left over. Tiny bit thicker and not quite as smooth and silky soft. This is a 100% acrylic yarn. It's a worsted weight. And the first little bit of it is done with the original. And see, I don't know if on the camera you can really tell a difference. Maybe you can. This part is done with the original, and then like right here, it switches. So the color seems good, but this is just a little more like flexible, this top part, and this part is like really stiff. So I'm hoping that once the pillow goes in, once I like sew it all together and the pillow goes in, you can't really notice too much of a difference. At least looking at it, maybe when you like feel it, you might be able to tell that, you know, one section is a little smoother than the other. It was just a little more coarse and a little, like I said, a little thicker. So it's just like dense. Which I'm really glad I didn't have to knit the entire 2 pillows out of this version of it, because it kind of started to hurt my hands. The other one, it slid so much nicer. It was softer to work with, and because it was just a little bit like thinner, I don't know, when you're knitting something super dense, it can kind of hurt your hands and your wrists a little bit, but at least it does for me. So I'm really glad that I didn't have to knit both pillows completely out of that one. This is the second pillow. I showed off the finished first pillow either last episode or the episode before, can't remember. But this is out of the Knitting at Home book. It is I'm just looking because I can kind of see it on my bookshelf from here. Not Debbie Bliss, what is it? Ella Rae. It's an Ella Rae like design book with patterns from different people, I think, that work with Ella Rae, the yarn company. I don't know, is Ella Rae still around? It was when I first like started working in the yarn industry, and we stopped carrying at the last store I worked at. We stopped carrying Ella Rae after a while, and I personally haven't really knit with it or used it very much. So I'm not sure if Ella Rae is actually still going. Probably is, but anyway, it's from that book. I love that book. It has some beautiful photography and beautiful pieces in it, and this is the moss stitch pillow out of that book. So yeah, so I just have to weave in ends, seam it up. That will probably take me, I just have to set aside like a really good chunk of time, because the last time I seamed up the first pillow, it took me about maybe two 2-hour stretches, or maybe like a 2-hour stretch and then just a smaller stretch to finish it up. It's a lot of mattress stitch when you're doing like 4 sides and then some for the pillow. So yeah, I just need a good chunk of time. It's not hard, it just takes a little bit. So yeah, waiting on that to get that done, and then I'll send those to Ashley, and that project will be done. So I'm really, really glad to have that off the needles at least. It's such a relief. I've had it for like 2 years, I think, or maybe longer. I can't remember. But that is why I think the yarn, you know, I couldn't get the exact match with the yarn, even though it is a large company. They obviously have maybe changed, or, you know, I don't know, production is just weird. They're producing this yarn, is gonna change a little bit, you know, from time to time. And it was 2 years, you know, between the two skeins being made, so that's understandable. But yeah, so I finished that. So it's kind of a finished knitting object, but not completely like done. The next thing is getting so close. This is in a I think it's Vera Bradley. Is that what these are called? These were like all the rage like a few years ago. And I got this tote for Christmas from my younger cousin. Yeah, probably like four years ago. And it is housing a baby blanket. So definitely showed this off last week or last time. I'm knitting this out of Bad Sheep Yarn Company DK. This is a 75-25 merino nylon blend, DK in her Constellation Space. So you can see a nice pretty blue. It does have some variation to it, though it's very, very subtle, and it has a little bit of like dark speckles, though you can't really see them very well in the knitting, but that's okay. So it is growing. It is growing. Look how big it's getting. I just want to make sure I don't have stitches coming off. So there's the end there, and it's getting quite large. I don't think I'm going to be using up all of the yarn on this. Ooh, shoot. One thing I noticed is that my needles can snag the yarn pretty easily. I have one snag in it down at the bottom. It's right here. You probably can't see it. No, I don't think you can see it. I was kind of upset though, because the needle, like the tip just got caught in the yarn, and I like yanked it kind of weird or moved it or something, and it just like pulled up one of the plies. And it might smooth down when I block it, but I don't know. So anyway, that doesn't matter. But yeah, it is getting quite large. I am on the third and fourth ball, so I am alternating skeins. I alternated the first two, that lasted me about so here's the end, lasted me about here. This is where I switched all of the yarns, so I have all my ends here, and then this is how much I've knit with the third and fourth ball. Like I said, I don't think I'm gonna be using all the yarn. I think that would just make it slightly too big. I want it to be manageable and a good thing to like grab or just snuggle with, not be too cumbersome. But I will be able to use the rest of this yarn for like maybe I'll have enough for a small sweater. You never know, baby projects, they don't take very much at all. So if I had like 100 grams left, that'd be like more than enough for an infant sweater, which would be awesome. So stay tuned on that one, but I'm liking it so far. It's funny, I literally took me half the blanket to finally get the lace pattern in my head, which seems so silly to me because I think normally I would have gotten it a lot sooner, and I did kind of get it, but I had to have like my cheat sheet to like remind myself what row I was on and how to start that row. And finally, just the other day, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I can like, I'm reading my stitches, I can like, why didn't I, why didn't I memorize this or be able to like recall this sooner? And I just think it's because everything going on, I think my brain is just overloaded with things. So now I'm able to sort of tell where I'm at, and actually I don't have to pull out the paper every time, which is awesome. It's not a hard pattern, don't get me wrong. It's like an 8-row repeat, including wrong side rows. So I don't know what got into me, but finally memorized it. And this is the pasture blanket. I didn't say that earlier. And I'm not sure who designed it. I feel like the last few times I've talked about this, I haven't told you who designed it. But if you look up the pasture blanket on Ravelry, it'll come up. There are options for different sizes. So this is the smallest size, the baby blanket. Then you have like a throw size, which is even bigger, obviously. And then you have like a really, really big size. So doing the smallest size, pretty darn happy with it. It's just gonna be a beautiful, snuggly, classy looking blanket. And I have a Lock and Lou Progress Keeper on there. You can see it blends in a little bit, but it's a chicory flower. I'm all about the blue today, look at that. Blue blanket, blue flower, blue shirt. Can you tell it's my favorite color? And I didn't just get this light blue color because we're having a boy. I feel like I would have put if I were having a daughter, I would have put her in lots of blue as well. The colorway name, like I said, is Constellations, which kind of grabbed me. I liked the color, I liked the yarn. I wanted to buy from an indie dyer that I hadn't used before, but I've been following Bad Sheep Yarn for a while and really love her stuff, so I decided to check her website, and the Constellations colorway was on there, and we are doing the baby's nursery in like a cute space theme. So little rocket ships, and we have like a little illustration of like the solar system going up on his wall and like the moon, you know, so kind of cute things like that. So the Constellations, it kind of sold me on the yarn, and I really loved working with it. It's a really, really soft, it is superwash, and does have nylon in it, but it's a nice soft yarn, and I think it's going to be pretty durable. The lace gets me a little worried because I know that as he gets older, little kids, like, they tend to like to play with things, and he could like stick his fingers in there and pull and stuff like that. But I'm just gonna leave it be for now. I'm not gonna worry about that until it actually starts happening. You never know, I might, unless he's too attached to it, I might pull it out of rotation and just keep it as like a keepsake. But I definitely want to use it when he's like little enough to not notice and not get all fidgety and be pulling and stuff like that. So I have a friend whose daughter like completely ruined her baby blanket that she was very attached to, because she would like pull on the stitches and the tassels and stuff, just like when you're like self-soothing. So I thought of that after I started this, and I was like, oh, maybe lace stitches were not the best choice, but oh well. I might, you know, I could always knit, after he's born, I could knit him something that's a little more durable, like you know, garter blocks or something like that. It just seemed kind of boring at the time. I wanted something pretty and sweet, and yeah. So anyway, that was my thought process. But yeah, so that's my pasture blanket. I'm getting there. I'm hoping to be done with that in the next week or so, so that I can kind of move on to some other projects. I am trying to hold myself back a little bit from casting on too many things because I don't want to be overwhelmed when the baby's born. I have a couple small things. I really want to cast on a sweater for myself, but I'm not sure if that's the best choice. Right now, at least, I don't know. So my second project is in, again, these are all just kind of repeat. I'm not really showing you too much new stuff this week, but this is my Pointel Designs bag. She's a local Madison maker, and we hosted her at Knit Circus. Look at that awesome, fun inside fabric. It makes me smile every time I open this bag. And yeah, I just love how summery and sweet this is. And it's the perfect little bag for these baby socks I've been making. So last time I showed you a pair out of green Pagewood Farms yarn. I finished those. I think I had finished them, I hope. Otherwise, I do have a finished object and I just didn't show it to you. But I feel like I feel like I showed those off. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. They're just baby socks. So I started another baby sock. I decided to just do kind of my normal way of knitting socks. I've been doing a lot of top-down baby socks. The first few pairs were all heel flap and gusset, which are great, and that was a pattern by Tabitha Gandy called like Best Infant Sock or something like that, or Favorite Infant Sock. And then the last pair I decided to just throw in the Fish Lips Kiss heel because it's the one that I know best, and I like the best, at least for myself. And then this time I'm like, well, why am I doing cuff down? I could just so easily use that same stitch count and do toe up, because to me, I'm a toe up sock kind of girl. No Kitchenerring at the end, it's fantastic. So this is a toe up sock. I used the Judy's Magic cast on. I just did every other row increasing, like a kind of a normal rounded toe, and then knit. I believe this is 32 stitches, 36 stitches. I can't remember, but this is supposed to be kind of his next level up sock. So I have a few pairs of like little tiny socks, and then this one and the last pair I did are kind of like a few months in when he started to grow, because we all know they grow super fast. So I do have the heel done. I did, again, a Fish Lips Kiss. What's nice about the Fish Lips Kiss is that you don't have to really like if you know the pattern, you just divide by 3, and then you have your stitch amounts for each side and like your short rows. So I don't have to do the math really about like, you know, how many to pick up, and nope. I just whip that out. And then I've started the leg, which I'm gonna do in all 2x2 rib. So I'm really hoping I have enough yarn to do a good size leg, though like looking at this, I'm getting really, this is all the yarn I have left. And it's a little deceiving because it's all sort of like, I don't know, like loose. And I did most of the sock with just like this tiny little ball of yarn, and it went way further than I thought it would. So I'm just hoping that this is enough. This is a colorway by Brew City Yarns, and they are, my yarn is like, my needles have just gone crazy and my yarn is stuck in there, and oh well. This is a colorway by Brew City Yarns. It is their like bonfire or burning leaves. I think it might be burning leaves colorway. I got it a few years ago at the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival in Jefferson, Wisconsin. And they are a company out of Milwaukee, or like near Milwaukee. So I loved the pair of socks I made with this, and I'm really glad I had leftovers. So hopefully I have enough to finish a pair. And then I have a couple more yarns. I think I showed you guys the other yarns I had to make some baby socks. And I might cast on another pair of baby socks, or I might kind of leave that for, I don't know, like I kind of want to make my own pair of socks now. I haven't knit myself a pair of socks in months, and I'm really missing it, even though this is like the same process. I don't know, there's something about knitting yourself a pair of socks that I just really enjoy. So I might do that. I have plans. I have a new pattern that I've been meaning to knit up, and I just haven't gotten around to it. And you guys have seen it. It was the pair of socks that I knit for my husband. I finished those probably in April or the beginning part of May. And I had plans to cast on another pair for myself so I could test out the pattern again, the stitch pattern that was on them. And I have the yarn that I want to make them in. but there was just so much to do with moving and then baby projects, and oh my gosh. So haven't gotten around to that, but it's kind of like nagging me in the back of my mind, like I should do that. Yeah, before September. So I might do it. Okay, so those are kind of my works in progress that I've done over the past 2 weeks. But I also, this time, I get to show you this guy again. So my cozy memory blanket. Last time I podcasted, I hadn't really added any squares to this, but last weekend, was it last weekend or the weekend before? I think it was the weekend before. I kind of went crazy. I added 4 squares in the past couple weeks, which for me is a lot. So usually I sit down and I just do like a square. I love knitting on this, and even just like having it out makes me want to put another square in here. It's so much fun, and it's so much fun to like choose where the colors are gonna go and to see my stash of like scraps and minis like slowly go down. It's the most satisfying feeling. But I almost feel a little bit guilty when I work on this, because I know that I have other projects that are kind of time sensitive, and I should, like, in my mind, I should be getting these off the needles, because this is such a long-term project that I know I'm not gonna like adding in a couple of squares isn't gonna make a huge dent in it. But at the same time, like, if I don't keep adding squares, I'm never gonna finish it. So I kind of like, it's almost a treat to myself if, I don't know, if I have a lot of time to knit and I'm not just like snagging like an hour here or there, I will sit down and just knit on this. So it is getting kind of long. You saw it on the back of the couch there. It kind of spans like 2 couch cushions. I do have plans to make it a little bit longer, maybe adding an extra 3 to 4 squares on the end. Maybe more, I don't know. But I did decide to add a new row. So for the longest time, I was adding length, and I had just 4 rows that I was sort of like adding, you know, like length on this side. So I'd cast on here, and then I'd knit like these 4, cast on, knit, you know, yeah. But decided to add another row, and that's because I have leftovers of my 2019 Homespun House Advent Calendar. So I knit the whole, oh, it's noon. You can hear we have like a bell that sounds at noon every day. And I don't know if that's from one of the factories in town or one of the old factories. I'm not sure. But yeah, it sounds every day, so you know when it's 12 o'clock. So yeah, I knit a, and there's a dog. I knit a Dust of Snow shawl by Helen Stewart out of my Homespun House Advent Calendar. It did take me past Christmas into the new year. I think, I'm not sure when I finished it. January or February. Finally got that done. I still haven't blocked it. That's next on my list. I had 2 huge projects that I had to block. One of them was my Stephen West building block shawl, and I blocked that last week, and I'm so proud of myself. It is dry and beautiful and neatly folded in my chest of knitted things ready for winter time. I'm so excited. But I still have to block my Dust of Snow shawl, or wrap, or scarf, whatever it is. But yeah, I still had quite a bit left over after knitting that, and I, you know, decided it would be really fun to also put a square, you know, get kind of 2 projects. I mean, obviously it's not the whole blanket, but 2 things out of my really expensive and really awesome hand-dyed advent calendar. So I kept all of them, put them in bags, because it was just too much. I'll show you. I have all of my minis and like scraps. These are mostly scraps, in this Little Women bag. Love Little Women. This was given to me by my best friend Caitlin, who's also a knitter, but lives far away, which stinks. But we did have a knitting night over Skype the other day, so that was fun. But anyway, this was just, there was too many little scraps to just throw in here, and I wanted to keep them all kind of together so I didn't lose any, didn't misplace any. So there they are. And why was I telling you that? I don't know why I was telling you that. Anyway, so I bagged them all up. I put them in my Cozy Memory bag for later on when I would get to them. So you can see, this is how much I had left after doing a stripe in my Dust of Snow. And then I still have leftovers after doing a square in the Cozy Memory blanket. So I've done 4. So this one, I know for sure that this one was December 24th. This was Christmas Eve. I love that colorway. Absolutely adore it. So Christmassy and fun. The rest of them, I have no idea what days they were. I could like find them in my Dust of Snow because I did knit that like consecutively. I kept them all in order. You guys would have seen that if you watched the podcast or watched my Vlogmas. But I did not keep them in order in the bags or anything, or worry about what days they were, anything like that. I just thought for the Cozy Memory, I would put them together with ones that looked good together. So that's kind of what I did. I did this one first because I thought it looked really good. This is the Pagewood Farms Ireland colorway that I knit those baby socks out of. That's this square here. So I thought those two looked pretty good together with the greens. And then this one next to it has some green in it too, but it brings in some of the like bright pinks and stuff. And the majority of the Homespun House calendar was very bright. It has a lot of pink in it. So I knew I'd have to not just like use up all of the cool colors and stuff and the greens and all of that right away. Like I needed to intersperse them a little bit with some of the pink so it wasn't just like huge section of pink. So yeah, so I did this one because it had a little bit of green in it, and I thought this bright one looked really fun with it. And then that kind of went into this one that has some pink in it, but a lot of green and purple and blue as well. So those 4 were really fun to make. And I just want to keep going on it. Oh, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I do have to weave in my ends though. I have a couple over here that I didn't weave in quite yet. I'm usually pretty good about weaving in as I go. I get a little like stressed out if there's too many ends that I have to go back and weave in. So having 6 squares, 6 completed squares with their ends still attached is it's pushing it a little bit. So maybe my next step on this blanket will be just take a half hour and weave in those little guys. But yeah, I love this project so much. There's so many memories. Like some of them are just little mini skeins or scraps I got from friends, or I don't know, like I didn't use them for bigger projects, but then there's some that I could tell you exactly what project I made with them. Like just looking through them, I'm getting all nostalgic. Yeah, so that's what this is about, right? I mean, it's a cozy memory. You're supposed to just look at them and just be happy. Yeah, so anyway, I love it. I'm really, really happy that I was able to work on that over the last couple weeks. if I had it my way, well, no, I don't know. I like shaking it up. I was gonna say if I had it my way, I would just work on that all the time, but that's not true. I'd get bored. Okay, so the last thing I'm gonna show you is I did treat myself spontaneously the other day. I work at Knit Circus Yarns, like you guys know, and I was doing a live video on our Facebook and Instagram. We participated in the Virtue Wool Fiber Festival, which is a monthly kind of mini festival that happens with indie dyers, and you get like a 45-minute time slot. It's over a weekend, so it's a Saturday and a Sunday. You get a 45-minute time slot to go live, and in that 45 minutes, like, you show your yarn, you show samples, all that stuff. So we did that last Sunday, which was July 12th, and it was a lot of fun, but you only get 45 minutes, which, like, right now, I'm almost to 42 minutes, something like that. And when you have an entire shop of yarn that you want to talk about and samples and all this stuff, it flies by. So I hadn't really gotten to everything I wanted to talk about. My boss, Bug, was there with me, and she was kind of running the Instagram live, because that was additional. That wasn't through the Virtue Wool. We just decided to also stream on our site, so, or on our account. So the Facebook ended. We had to, sign off. We were done. The next people were gonna go on. We couldn't take up any more time. So we signed off, but then we continued on with our Instagram live on the Knit Circus Instagram. And we were on there for another like hour and a half. It was like 2 hours total, which was crazy, but it was so much fun. And so we've actually decided we're gonna do that like semi-weekly. We are gonna do that again tomorrow morning at about 10:30 Central Time. So if you do follow Knit Circus, if you don't follow Knit Circus, you should. And if you do, look out for a notification or something to come through tomorrow morning that we're doing a live video. So it was just a lot of fun, and it was so great to get back in the shop. I did not wear a mask because I was the one in front of the camera. But Bug did wear a mask to try and like mitigate what she was, giving to me, since we were in the same spot, the same, location. So, anyway, we tried to be a little bit safer than normal. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun. It was great. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was great to be back in the shop. It was great to be around the yarn again. I've been working at home for such a long time. And I just missed that environment of kind of being with your coworkers and, swapping ideas about projects and colorways and colorway combinations and all that stuff. So when we were pulling yarn and stuff to like show online, I saw, and I've seen this yarn before. We had this for a club colorway, but it just like, I could not forget. I couldn't leave without it. And there were 3 skeins of this, and 3 skeins is kind of what I would need for a lightweight like sweater, like a fingering weight sweater. It has 400 yards, which is pretty typical per 100 gram. And I'm imagining like a really beautiful Vera Valimaki sweater, like the Pavement or something like that. So this is in our Spectacular base, which is 100% superwash merino, and it is a single ply, but I've knit sweaters out of single ply before. One of my other Vera Valimaki sweaters is done with a single ply, and every so often you have to kind of like depill a little bit, like under the arms. But I haven't had an issue with it like growing, falling apart, like nothing. So I definitely would knit sweaters out of single ply if you are okay using a pilling comb every so often. Other than that, it's not a big deal. I know some people say like you should never use single ply, but I don't know, I don't really agree with that. So this is called A Yarn Has No Name, and it is a Game of Thrones inspired colorway. Sorry about that, my mom just called me, so I had to take that. But I was talking about this yarn. A Yarn Has No Name. It's, I probably said all this already, but I don't remember. 100% superwash merino and 100 grams, and I bought 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. This one's a tiny bit lighter, but it does have some dark spots. I will definitely be alternating skeins, however, with whatever project I decide to do. And yeah, I just couldn't leave them. They kept calling my name. So I ended up treating myself. So it was 2 days past my birthday. I did get some birthday money, so I'm telling myself like that is where that went. Although I do get a pretty good discount since I work there, so it's a lot better than ordering yarn from someone else. Though I bought something else like before this, the 4th of July weekend. I was watching some podcasts and decided to check Etsy because, you know, that's what you do. And yeah, I ordered myself a sock set from someone. I'm gonna wait and talk about it when it actually comes. I just got a notification that it shipped, so yeah, I'm really excited about that. So that was kind of like my treat. I haven't bought yarn in a really, really long time, since I bought the stuff for the baby blanket. So I figured I could treat myself a little bit, and it was my birthday, so yay. I have no immediate plans to knit with this. I just needed it and wanted it. So there you go. Otherwise, that's just about it. I have a couple of hours before I need to head out. We have a ultrasound today to check on a couple of things. Nothing bad, just to make sure everything is looking good. And my husband finally gets to come to an appointment, which is so exciting because we got pregnant in mid-December. And then by the time we had like our first appointment, because they wait a while, he came to that one. I think he maybe has come to 2 appointments with me, like at the very beginning. And then of course COVID-19 happened and you weren't allowed to bring anybody else with you. They just wanted to mitigate the amount of people that were coming through. But they have, over the last like month or so, they've taken that restriction down. You can bring your significant other. So he's gonna be able to be at an ultrasound for the first time, which is really exciting. And yeah, I can't wait because we had our last ultrasound, and I did have to have an echocardiogram on the baby because he has a small VSD, which is like a tiny little hole in his heart, which they assured me, and I'm quite confident that it's not going to affect his quality of life, and that we're just going to monitor it after he's born, just to make sure it's not anything bigger than they think it is, because right now it's like, oh, sorry, he just moved, like big time. It's like the size of a pinprick, so it really shouldn't affect the way that his heart functions or how he lives his life. A lot of people actually have VSDs and they don't realize them, because back in the day, the ultrasound, like a lot of people didn't even get ultrasounds and the technology wasn't as precise. So people went through life without even knowing them until adulthood, or maybe even never knowing that they have one because it doesn't cause any problems. So, but I did have to have a couple extra procedures done visually and stuff on him. So yeah, so I don't know why I was saying that. Oh, maybe because, yeah, okay. So it's been a while since we've had an ultrasound or the echo, so we haven't really seen him since he's like started progressing. I think the last time I got to see him was at like 22 weeks or something. So it's been 10 weeks. He's grown a lot since then, and I'm kind of excited to hopefully be able to like see his face again. And yeah, it'll kind of like tide us over until he's born. So I'm pretty excited about that, as you can tell. And other than that, I'm going to probably eat some lunch now. It's almost 12:30, and maybe do some knitting. I've caught up on all of my podcasts, and so I've been kind of searching for new ones, just to like tide me over until new episodes come out. Oh, my light just went out. It's okay. That's the warning that I've been talking for too long. But so I've been watching a couple. I like tested one out yesterday. I think I like her. I'll talk about it maybe next time if I continue to watch. And then I have been watching a couple FlossTube YouTube series or channels or whatever, which is the kind of cross-stitch needlework version of knitting podcasts. They're pretty much the same thing. Talk about your projects, talk about what you're working on, what you finished, but they're all about needlepoint or needlework, cross-stitch, things like that. And I do cross-stitch. I haven't in a long time, but I got started again. That's what I first started doing when I was a kid. Before I learned how to knit, was I cross-stitched, and we're talking like I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. And I've done a little bit, I've dabbled a little bit with it since then, but not very much at all. And then like a couple years ago, I just got the itch to start cross-stitching again. And I started a project. I bought a bunch of stuff for a bigger project, and then I kind of let that, I don't know, I lost steam again. And I think it's because it's just a little less portable and a little less intuitive for me. Whereas knitting, obviously I'm way more experienced, and it goes faster, and I can get projects done faster and all that stuff. But I'm really, really still interested in doing some cross-stitching. And Sue of Legacy Knits, Legacy Fiber Arts, and the Legacy Knits podcast started a FlossTube channel with one of her friends, who is also a knitter and a cross-stitcher, needle pointer. I know needlepoint is like its own separate category, but like, I don't know, in my mind, needlepoint like encompasses everything, and I know that's not true, but yeah, stitcher. She's a stitcher, and she's a knitter as well. I forget her name. But anyway, if you look up Floss Toss, that is their FlossTube podcast. And I've been really enjoying that. So then I was like, well, maybe I'm gonna want to watch some other FlossTubes and just get inspired to get back into cross stitch. So yeah, I'm excited. I have one that I watched the first episode, and I'm into the second episode, and I like it. I like it so far. So I'm kind of excited to like delve a little bit more into those, and I'll talk about them a little bit more in the next episode if I continue to watch and actually like pick up my cross stitch, because that would be great. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you are a new subscriber, I do know there's a few new subscribers on here. Thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. If you're a first-time viewer, thanks for checking out my podcast. If you're a long-time viewer, thank you as always. I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I'm so glad I got a chance to come and chat with you today. Yeah, take care of yourselves over the next couple weeks. Be kind to one another, and I'll be doing the same. Bye.